I finished reading the book Chums, which talked about the education that the leaders um, had at Oxford, and quite often in the book, the author referred to a book called Sad Little Men, and I've been reading that. Um, and the author um, started boarding school around about the same time that Cameron did and Johnson did. So they were all of the same sort of era for boarding school. Um, and it's really quite interesting to read his experience of boarding school. Some of it he doesn't remember, which is quite usual for kids who've been traumatized at that age to not remember things. It's a way of protecting themselves from what happened to them. Um, and there is a woman whose name I can't pronounce, who I think is a psychologist, Joy Shavarian, and talks about boarding school syndrome. And the symptoms are wide ranging. And this is from the British Journal of Psychotherapy. The symptoms are wide ranging, but include ingrained from an early age emotional detachment and dissociation, cynicism, exceptionalism, defensive arrogance, offensive arrogance, clickism, compart- compartmentalism, mentalization, guilt, grief, denial, strategic emotional misdirection, and stiff lipped stoicism, um, which, well, it just doesn't it? It just explains why you've got leaders that are completely shut off from um, the realities of life for other people because they had to shut the realities of life off for themselves. And I can't remember where Rishi went to school, but they are not fit. They're not fit to lead. And um, sadly, because of the symptoms of boarding school syndrome, um, believe they're fit to lead and are surrounded by people that believe they're fit to lead. Um, it's unbelievable. And so I'm reading Sad Little Men, and that's he talks about various documentaries that were made in the 70s and 80s, or was it the 80s, about public school. And I'm now sitting watching. Um, I don't know what date it was made. It looks 80s to me. A broadcast, a documentary that was made about four girls at 8 years old, starting boarding school, and it's heart wrenching, absolutely heart wrenching, and for the parents as well. But there's a sort of a there's a there's something missing with the parents being able to be in touch with their own distress and not imagining. Well, I think they probably are imagining how distressed their 8-year-old is, and we're seeing how distressed the mother is, and the you don't see the father so much. I think the documentary crew are obviously concentrating on the mother. Um, it's just very sad, and one of the house leaders, one of the women at the boarding school, talks about homesickness and talks about, there isn't something we can do about it. There's nothing we can do about it. They just have to get used to it. They have to adapt. And it's like, they're 8. They're 8. My granddaughter is 6 and will be 6. She looks 8. She will be 6 in April. But I can't imagine her being sent off to boarding school. And her mum went to boarding school. I don't think her mum went at 8, but her mum went to boarding school. And I can't imagine my granddaughter being sent to boarding school. I'm pretty sure that her mother has a completely different view as will have a different view as her daughter gets older. So yeah, it's very it's heart wrenching to watch, and all of these people that went to boarding school, I would say most of them, there might be the odd few that it really was a good place for them in terms of it was better than the life they were leading behind. But I would say 95% of them will have learned to put everything in a box and screw the box down and not let emotions out and not feel anything and adapt and be cold. And um, it's very sad, very sad. So the other thing is that Jules, you're talking about, and others on Tattle are talking about your very sensitive sense of smell, and there is a name for it. It's called hyperosmia, not hypo. Hyperosmia is a lack of sense of smell, but hyperosmia is a heightened sense of smell, and I suffered with it from the 80s right through until, and I've only just realised as you've been talking about it, well, I haven't only just realised, but put two and two together, that actually I haven't had that probably for a couple of years. And the reason I haven't had that for a couple of years is because there was some medication I was prescribed that took away my taste. I keep wanting to say sense of taste because it is sense of taste, but of course sense of taste can mean sense of taste as in what you're wearing, how you look, whatever. So the medication took that away, and I obviously have lost some sense of smell since then as well, which in many ways is great because having hyperosmia is a pain in the arse. Um, and I don't remember having it before the early 80s, and I'm wondering, I sort of think that I don't think that there isn't real concrete research to say what causes it, but I do think it's hormonal, and I think that I started with it after having children, which, you know, your hormones change after you or during pregnancy and afterwards. And I started with it after having children. So any perfumes, any aftershave, any smelly cleaning products, aerosols, all banned from the house. Um, and my then husband wore aftershave, and he had to keep that in the car and could only put it on once he'd gone out to the car. um, so yeah, pretty disgusting, and not quite as sensitive as yours, Jules, that you can smell dirty dish rags, and you can smell. I can smell dirty glasses, drinking glasses, um, but only if I actually go to smell them. I haven't smelt one recently, but if I go to smell them rather than, I can't smell them from a distance. But I can remember sitting in a restaurant locally. It was a new couple that had opened in our village, and she had put those solid room perfumes around. And there's nothing worse. There's nothing worse than sitting to eat your meal and all you can smell is the perfume, a solid block of whatever it smelt of behind you. I want to smell my food, not perfume. That was weird. They didn't last long, they didn't. They closed down. Um, so yeah, I really do understand the hyperosmia. There is another thing that you get, or that I had, and they did have, it has a name, and I can't find it today. I've been looking, that you get around menopause, and for a long time, ages, months and months and months and months and months, I could smell. It smelt like exhaust fumes, and so much so that we bought a carbon monoxide alarm monitor, because I just sort of said to Mark, well, perhaps, you know, perhaps we do need to check that we're not getting carbon monoxide from the fire. And we bought a monitor, and of course there wasn't any carbon monoxide, but all I could smell was oh, excuse me, all I could smell was exhaust fumes. Um, really unpleasant. But I connected that more with menopause because it was a smell that didn't exist that I could smell. So it was like a hallucinogenic smell. Um, there was something else that came into my head and just flew out about smell. No, it's gone. It was there a minute ago. Oh, that is just so annoying, isn't it? Isn't that annoying when that happens? Anyway, that's about it really. I feel much better today, much more alive, awake. I mean, awake as in alive earlier. Normally, the last few weeks, it's taken me an hour or two to get to get going. But this morning, I'm up and I'm dressed and ready and all of that. So I'm feeling much better. Uh, it's Friday, and I think it should be Saturday. Don't know why. It just feels like it should be Saturday. It's warmer out here than it is indoors. I'm going to show you. Why do I need to explain it when I... So that's what's here. This is out the back. But if you pan round a bit, there are some dark clouds over there. I don't know what the forecast is. But as you can hear, it's quite quiet. I don't know which way the wind's coming from. Let's have a look. Which way are my tatty old prayer flags flying? Ooh, north. Bit north. Northeast, maybe. Yeah, there's hardly any wind. Yeah, that's it. So, oh, thanks, T-Rex. I sort of like I do like my hair, and then I see myself here, and I think, oh, not sure, but yeah, I do like my hair really. So thank you, and hello, Comtesse Rose. Okay, and Trangili. Okay, à plus.